Hi there, my name is Sandie Bell and I am from L'Atelier Sandie Bell on Hastings Street, 3908 Hastings Street in Burnaby Heights. Thank you for joining us today. We're going to do a DIY tutorial on collage. So to do the collage that we're going to do today, these are the things that we need. We need a wooden block, and this is called an artist block. You can buy these at the hobby store, craft store. Sometimes you can get them at the dollar store. You might want to pick a larger size block. You might want to pick a smaller size. This is a good size to start with because when you've actually finished, you will see how easy it is to do. If you pick a block that's too large, you might take longer than you want to do your first project. You also need some background images. Now you can either buy paper pads from Michael's or somewhere like that that already have images. I download images from the computer and print them myself onto a nice quality paper. You can also take old letters, you can take pieces of old script. Those are great for putting onto the backgrounds too. So it's up to you, whatever your theme is, you pick a background that you would like for that. You will also need a paintbrush and some glue. Mod Podge is the best, I've found. You will need some painter's tape, which is usually green or blue. You'll need an X-Acto knife, and you will need a small pair of scissors that are sharp, that have quite pointy tips on them. And then of course the last thing that you will need is all the images that you want to collage onto your background paper. So I have a selection of beautiful peonies and roses that we're going to work with. So the first thing that we're going to do is we have our background paper. We have to adhere it to your block. So what we're going to do is make sure that we get it to the exact size of the block, because I want the whole block covered with the paper. I've trimmed these three sides, so I'm going to trim the last side so that you can see. It measures perfectly now, so I just make a fold down at the bottom where the end of the block is. And you can either hand cut this, but because I'm fussy, I like to have it perfect. I use a paper cutter and I trim it to the exact size. So here is our background, and this is what we're going to work with. So this is the time that you get the glue out. And you can do it two ways. You can either put the glue onto the board like this, or you can put your paper background down and put the glue onto the back of that. So either way, whichever works best for you. You might also like a bigger brush. I've gone with a small brush. And don't overwhelm the board with a lot of glue, because you will get air bubbles and bumps, and you don't want that. Once you have a good covering with a few paintbrush hairs in there, you lay this on top, line up the sides, and gently let it drop so that it looks like it's kind of centered. Then take your hands and slowly push all the air bubbles out and adhere the paper to the board. And you can feel air bubbles in there. They pop up like little blisters. So keep rubbing that down for a little while. There you go. Is we're going to take the painter's tape, and this is just to protect the sides. You put the painter's tape around the edge of your wood, and this is so that you, if you choose to have a paper, a wooden edge showing, as opposed to painting it, you won't damage the wood. You can do this before you put your paper down, but this helps to keep it all nice. And tuck it under a little bit. Be neat. The neater you are, the better it turns out. If you do get little bubbles, you can always use a credit card to smooth them out. I don't happen to have one right now. But that's part one of getting your paper down, and that is the hardest part. So the next thing we need to do is take the flowers that we like and start placing them onto our board to see how we would like the collage to look. I love these peonies, so I've already pre-cut them. So I will start laying some of these images out the way I think they would look nice. Maybe something like this along the top. I could put in some different color peonies as well. It depends on how full you want your collage to be. That would look nice. It might be a bit too busy for me. You could also do something with a larger flower. Place it and place another larger flower. It all depends on how you want this to look. Personally, I'm going to go with the purple peonies or the burgundy peonies because I really like those. So I'm going to place this one here. I'm going to place this one here. And this one I'm just going to have coming off the top so they balance each other out. When you do a collage, you need to think about the composition and how it looks, and that it's not too overcrowded. You can do it overcrowded, but that's a personal taste. If I had something like this and I put this in too, something like that would be nice as well. But for this project, I think I'm just going to stick with these. Now these ones are okay because you can just stick them to the edge. Remember the order. And you can have them overlapping. What we'll do is trim that off afterwards. On this one, we can do this, where we fold it down and fold it down on this side. And then we can cut it with the X-Acto knife so that we have a straight line on the sides. Fit there perfectly. Okay, so now we have the composition of our board and we're happy with it. I have a little tip for you. Take your cell phone and take a photograph of what you have done on the board before you glue it down, because if you have too many pieces, you will forget in which order to glue them down, and then you'll have a big Mod Podge mess. So I take my phone, I take a picture of it, and there is my board. So this you put down and you leave beside you so that while you're gluing, because you of course have to take all of this off, you will glue in order. The first thing I'm going to glue is this one because it is behind this one, so that you have to remember. So another tip, if you have old magazines, grab an old magazine and use the pages of the magazine to glue. You don't want to glue on here because this will pull up the image from the other side of your flower. Okay, so take a little bit of Mod Podge and just brush it onto your first flower or your first image. Not too thick, not too thin. Try and only have one finger in there. Lift up your flower. Place it right onto your board, like so. And slowly go around your flower and make sure you push down all the petals. Don't worry about what's hanging over the edge. There. Turn the page. And the glue is on there. And then do your second flower. Lay it carefully onto your board. Sort of shimmy it around so that it goes where you want it. Then carefully place it down. Make sure you get all the edges. You can use a very soft cloth to do this if you want to. I find it's just easier doing it with my fingers. This little edge we can trim off later. Then we will do the last piece. Put it up in the corner. There. And I actually got it in the same order that's in my photograph. So that you just need to let it sit for a little bit, and then I'll show you how to trim the edges off. Okay, now that we have the frame done and you're happy with the way all your flowers have turned out, what we're going to do is cut the little edges off of the side of the board, because we don't want to just have them flip down. So have a little cutting board underneath or a piece of cardboard, flip your board over, take your X-Acto knife, and your glue should be dry by now. If your knife is sharp, just go across and trim, like so. And then the little edges are not there anymore. This one's really tiny, so let's see if we can get that one off. There we go. Now that we have the finished product, we are going on to the next step. So now we've done everything we need to do. We have to do the final step. You have to get your Mod Podge out again and your brush, and all you have to do is give the entire board a coat of Mod Podge. And I know people go, oh my god, it looks all white and gross, and I don't want to do that to mine. But this seals all your edges together. And it gives it a protective coating. You can do 1, 2, or 3 coats if you want. I usually find 1 is plenty. And it does look all white and milky to begin with. Try and get an even coat. Sometimes your paper will bubble with this because you're again making your paper moist, but as it dries, it disappears. The bubbles disappear. If they're really bad, you can take a little X-Acto knife and pierce the bubble, press it down, and then Mod Podge over it again. But you don't usually have to do that. Sometimes I use my brush to squeeze out the bubbles if I can. There's a little one there, so if you brush in the direction of the bubble, you can get the air out sometimes. And then you just have to wait for it to dry. Voila! So this is what you end up with, your final product. It's a little bit shiny still, but it'll dry in about half an hour and it'll become totally clear. And we have some other examples of collages that we have done that are a larger size and a smaller size in a square format. So you can also think about doing something like that if you want. So we have some other examples here on our wall of other collages that we have done. We have some that are on a larger canvas, which makes a perfect medium to work on for collage because you can do a larger space. We also have some other wood boards that we have done where we have finished them with a resin, which gives you a shiny finish, and it's very durable. If you drop these on the floor, they don't dent. I have some examples too of things that you don't do when you're doing collage, which you learn by trial and error. So I'd love to see you in the shop at some point when we reopen, and we do offer all of these classes as a workshop, and we'd be really happy to see you. If you want to sign up, you can look on my website at l'ateliersandiebell.com and check out our workshops that we offer. Thank you.